measure their impact, and serve more citizens. Impact First investors rise, prioritizing their impact on society over returns on investments. They're a new breed of leaders, rebels against the status quo, change makers. Join us at the Asian Institute of Management's Master in Development Management. Learn more about us at our website.
Now we are live on Facebook. Again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon to everyone joining us today live via Zoom and Facebook. I am Hasminah Paudac, your host for today. Just a brief introduction of myself. I am an alumna of the Institute from batch 2015. I've been practicing law for more than a decade and also runs a virtual free legal aid clinic. What I always say is that I am a lawyer by profession, a development management professional by vocation, and a frustrated artist by inclination. I'm also active in the environmental and human rights space and advocate of climate justice and currently working with Greenpeace Southeast Asia Philippines as its legal advisor for climate justice and liability program. Specifically, we work with various stakeholders and employing creative strategies to mainstream climate justice in the consciousness of Filipinos and institutionalize it in the government system. This conversation is brought to you by the Stephen Zulich Graduate School of Development Management of the Asian Institute of Management, together with the alumni of the Master in Development Management Batch 2015, specifically the Women Lab. This is a special edition of the two-part series of MDM Live webcast featuring women leaders in development and launching virtually the e-publication of the 9 management cases written by the case authors or the students themselves. The first part was concluded last week. The Women Lab is a brainchild of our previous program director, Professor Anita Saltran, with the participation of MDM professors, former school head of ZSDM, Dr. Kenneth Hartigan-Go, Professors Manny De Vera, Jillian Stevens, and Professor Nieves Confesor. To our professors who are watching us right now, hello, hello. But before we start this public conversation, allow me to share with you some friendly reminders to make this conversation smooth, productive, and engaging. This Zoom webinar is being recorded and the recording may be shared to the AIM community, particularly the students, for educational purposes. This event is being live streamed simultaneously at the Asian Institute of Management's official Facebook page. So please, you still have time to invite your family and friends to join the conversation. At any rate, our recording will be available to the public after the live stream. We encourage you to interact with us, asking relevant questions in the Q&A portion here at Zoom, and for our Facebook viewers, please post your questions to the comments section of the live stream. And of course, a gentle reminder, please mute yourself if you're not speaking so we can hear the speaker clearly. Again, thank you for being here today and giving your very precious time to listen to stories of hope, inspiration, leadership, and empowerment, among others. Without further ado, allow me to open this conversation by first introducing our moderator for today. One of the most admirable women leaders I have the privilege to know and be mentored by. Back in 2015, when I was at AIM, no one will miss her commanding presence, and she has the ability to draw out insights that will make you even more ponder more. One of the women I look up to, aside from my mother, of course, and hope to become half of what she is and what she has achieved. She just recently retired as associate professor at AIM and is presently an adjunct faculty at the institute. Her expertise includes leadership and strategic negotiation and labor and employment policy and administration. She was formerly Philippine Secretary of Labor and Employment under the administration of former Presidents Corazon Aquino and Fidel Ramos. Her vast consultancy experience includes working with various Philippine and foreign business entities and international organizations. In 1992, she was among the 10 outstanding women in the nation's service or towns and was awarded Most Outstanding Leader Extraordinary in Gawad Maestra Award in 2013 by the Philippine Society for Training and Development. To start the ball rolling and to give us an overview of today's conversation, let us give a warm virtual applause to Professor Maria Nieves Confesor. Good afternoon, Professor. Now
Good
the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Hold on. Uh, Good afternoon to everyone, especially those who have joined us in our classrooms. Let me just tell you about the forum. And I really want to congratulate MDM 2015 and these women who had, as part of the academic requirements, started out by writing cases. And today we're going to ask them, why in heaven's name did you choose these particular women leaders as really examples, as sources of inspiration, not only for your country, but for the globe as well? And second is, we will have the women leaders now, 4 of them. And the question we will ask of them is, what ways? Or since then, what pathways have you made or want to make, where we can join you and support you as well, and where the world needs to be able to see the challenges ahead? What is it that you are carving out so that we can reimagine our future? So given these 2 tasks, we're going to have our forum today. And again, let me congratulate. This initiative is still ongoing at the MDM program of this institute. We have found it that very, very opportunistic as well as very beneficial, that our people really see that leadership is no longer about being heroes. It will take a lot of courage, but leadership is an event that we need to do every day. The 21st century is, as you say, a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it is complex, and it is totally ambiguous. And that is why those pathways that we want to listen to from our women leaders who were chosen 5 years ago because they already were on their pathways, but we would like to share with them what their reimagined future looks like, especially after this pandemic that does not want to let go of all of our futures as well. So let me now go into ask Rosh. Rosh is her real name. Her nickname, Rosh, to tell us about who we have for this afternoon. Rosh?
Thank you, Professor, for that opening remarks, which certainly sets the tone for our conversation this afternoon. Professor, binuko niyo pa yung nickname ko eh. Others do not know that. So anyway, I will not make these any longer, and let's start the first part of this conversation by introducing to you the case authors. This is 4 of the 9 management cases launched virtually, and these case authors are actually alumna of MDM Batch 2015. First, we have Ms. Saleh Khatun, who is currently a National WASH Cluster Coordinator at UNICEF Bangladesh. She is a visionary, result-oriented, and strategic professional with 15 years work experience under her belt. Her areas of expertise are in the fields of emergency coordination, preparedness and response, networking and advocacy, partnership management, disaster management, and climate-induced migration and refugee, climate change adaptation, political economy, analysis and governance, and humanitarian development nexus. She holds not 1, but 3 master's degree in social science, in disaster management, and in development management. She aspires to be a dynamic leader and motivate people to achieve results for children, adolescents, and women. Our second case author is Ms. Phyo Phyo Y. She's now a community resilience specialist at the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center in Myanmar. She has an extensive experience in disaster risk reduction, climate change, urban resilience, and civil society strengthening. She earned her bachelor's degree in chemistry from Dagon University, Myanmar, and has two master's degrees, first in development studies from Yangon Institute of Economics, and second, master in development management from EAM. Our third case author is Miss Therina Khan, who is currently based in Dubai. She is currently a full-time mom to her lovely daughter. Previously, she was working at the International Monetary Fund. She earned her bachelor's degree at Marymount University and took master's level classes both at George Mason University and at the Asian Institute of Management. Finally, our last case author is none other than, drumroll please, myself. Yes, I'm one of the case authors, and I will not reintroduce myself. And let us already start this conversation as I again give the floor to Professor Nieves. Professor?
Mute. All right, for this portion, we will invite our case writers now, the case authors, to tell us about why they had chosen and, in a sense, introduce the speaker or the woman leader, but at the same time, introduce also the emerging concept of what leadership means and what is the context in which this is going to be addressed. So we asked them, and we asked them to prepare for it, is the question, so why did you choose them? Why was it that you wanted to present to the world? Why are they examples of inspiration as well? That this might be the way to be able to face the challenges of the 21st century, the ones that paralyze us with fear, the ones that paralyze us and make us go back to basics all the time. So may I ask now, in a sense, when you talk about the four leaders, we will now ask the case writers, what was the compelling narrative? And why was your own case writing about these leaders the compelling narrative as well? You must remember that when the case was written, it wasn't a CV or a biodata of the woman leader you had chosen. You were part of that case. It's a narrative as well, of the narrative not only of the woman leader, but it is also a narrative of what you saw. So let us now call on them. Can we have the case writers then? Who's going up first? Rosh?
Oh, okay. Yes, Professor. Regarding your first question, why did I choose to showcase the story of my woman leader? My woman leader is Secretary Yasmin Busran Lao. At the time of the case writing, there were a lot of negative publications about Islam and Muslims in general. We were always portrayed in social media that we are, terrorists. I recall even posting a photo with a banner, Muslims are not terrorists. I thought it was an opportune time for me to showcase Muslims as peace-loving, competent people with a big appetite for public service. I had a hard time finding one at the time because I was assigned to look for someone in the government sector, and I had limited time to do this. Juggling this case study with our intensive and rigorous schoolwork, you know how it is in AIM, walang uwian, as we say. Also, with all due respect to some of our government officials, it is not an easy task to choose a leader, which I can really proudly showcase. So I did initial research, both primary and secondary. So I did interview and, of course, Google search to look for that person who has that compelling narrative that the reader can learn from. I am particularly looking at a holistic angle at that time, someone who is not only professional, a public servant, but also heavily involved in development work, because that is our master's degree, right? And specifically, of course, helping to surface women issues, something that I resonate well, and the Bangsamoro struggle. That is my interest, being a Maranao Muslim. So my research led me to search for Miss Yasmin Busran Lao. Then she was then the secretary of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos. It was a perfect fit since we both hail from the same province and we are both proud Maranaos. And she's not only in the government service, but also in the development sector and of course, peace panel negotiating with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front at the time. And at the time, it is as if destiny brought me to meet her. At the first meeting, I already found a different synergy between us. I'm just speaking for myself and my experience. Perhaps she might disagree, but kidding aside, it should have been just a brief meeting to say hello and gauge her if she'll be a good fit for me to write about. But that meeting actually went longer, and in our conversation, I've learned to love the persona behind that tough facade with a sweet smile. She embodied a very empowered Maranao Muslim woman, which is for me quite rare at her age. But she showed a very calming voice, and you can just feel the sincerity in her and her genuineness and compassion. I was pleasantly surprised to hear her stories uncut and honestly told. Imagine bearing yourself to scrutiny to a complete stranger, and given our peculiar cultural context, uh, I never experienced love at first sight, Professor. Never. But with her, it was an admiration at first sight. I left her office with beaming joy and calmness and soul, since her story really resonated well with me. Her struggles partly reflected my struggles as a Maranao woman finding her space in the metro and outside her comfort zone. So I think that was my motivation in choosing my woman leader, Miss Yasmin Busran Lau. Later, probably in this conversation, I will answer the next portion. What is her compelling narrative? So over.
All right, thank you. Shall we have Fio Fio? Yes, Fio Fio.
Yes, Prof. Yeah, nice seeing you here as well. Yeah, the first question that you raised is why I choose Miss May as the protagonist of my case, the woman leader. Yeah, actually, my woman leader that I written as a case study is, as you already know now, that Miss Vepu, who is now currently the writers of the Gender Equality Network. And the time that started planning to write the woman that case, actually I would just how to say, at the time I was learning about the leadership, and then I was learning about the two types of leadership, about the leading with authority and the leading without authority. I was just so interested on that, how the ordinary lady, for example, I'm also come from the just the ordinary development workers. I really want to live with myself, how just an ordinary lady can lead the people, and how I can voice out my value, and how my value and the voice can be a message voice who has no authority. This is the thing that I'm started thinking about. And then I'm looking the woman in Myanmar, because Myanmar is the one of the country that who is also facing different related gender issue. That's why I'm started looking for the lady who should really link with my how to say thoughts, and who can link with my thought, and who can really how to say the answer my question or leading without authority. Then I found Miss Mizavipu, who is really came from the just ordinary lady from the mind the one of the ethnic groups, and she is also just started her career life with the ordinary development worker in the different development organization and reached to the UN as well. And then I found her that I really impressed the thing that she is leading, knowing her leadership capital was. These are the things that attracts me to start writing about her. Yeah, and yeah, thinking about the compelling narratives of her, thinking about the leadership capital of her, I how to say that I see word that after interviewing, yeah, with her several times as well. And since before I interview with like Raj share, I'm also search and explore the about Miss May by internet and the secondary data, and then it started compelling. Okay, we can lead the community, and we can reach our goal and the vision, even we don't have any authority. And I really want to share the future people and the message that, okay, there is also lots of opportunity for the people who have no authority, who really want to lead the community. This is the motivate. Yeah, this is the thing that I started writing and selecting the Miss May. And throughout the interview process with May, what I'm also get impressed is that, yeah, how to say, based on my understanding of the leadership copy, the people who gonna read the community and who gonna go create the community with his or her vision, she or he has kind of like, how about the skill that the experience that the medicine that she is leading? I saw that she already finished her gender and development master's degree in the AIN, and I saw that she is even working for the Kitchen Women Peace Network or different organization leading us like this, and that's why, okay, yeah, kind of like leadership skill, she has that. And how about her passion as well? Yeah, she has strong passion on that speed. And okay, how about the accountability and that she is taking on this? And I saw those kinds of leadership capital. And then these are the things that I found from her. And another thing that I learned, and I would say that this is also kind of like comparative advantages. It is quite surprised me that the way that she coped her stress. My understanding is that as a human being, we will definitely face the stressful situation, not only in the working environment as well as in the social and daily field as well. But for me, normally I cope my stress whenever I get stressed, I just jump into the piles of the books and I'm spent with my small plans and something like that. But when I had stress coping way, and asked her that, how do you normally cope your stress? Because you are also leading and co-creating and co-sensing with the values of the people that you are leading. And you will definitely face the challenges throughout the way that you're leading. She shared her coping way is quite impressive, because she shared that whenever, yeah, definitely she's faced lots of challenges throughout her way, but she normally cope her stress in kind of like whenever she faces challenges, she reads the autobiography of the heroes and the war leaders, and she also reads the movie of the war leader, and she console herself that, yeah, my challenge is not like this. No, yeah, I can stay faced. And yeah, these are the way that these are the things that which also make me reflect that whenever I feel stressed, I always think about my challenge is the biggest and no one can understand my challenges. But after getting the interview with her and after learning from her, oh yeah, whatever I face a challenge, compared with the people who are struggling for the better, for the community, those challenges compared with mine, I'm still, small or something like that. That's why, these are the compelling narrative I learned from my leadership, and these are the reasons why I choose Miss May to
listen to her, the one that you chose. Okay. Now let's have Saleha. Saleha. Yes, Saleha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
hi,
Prof.
go.
Prof, thank you, and good afternoon, and good evening, and good morning, wherever you are. Thank you all. Yeah, we are the different time zone. Yeah, thank you, Prof, for giving the opportunity for introduce my women leaders and also why I choosing the case. My women leader, like Dr. Miss Angela Gomez, she's a founder, executive director, national NGOs here, name called Baste Sheka, is a Bengali name, and English is like learn how to survive. And she started work like in 40 years back, in Bangladesh as independent in 1771, and that time after that she started work, and is a very conservative society in Bangladesh, is a Muslim headed society here, and she is a Christian woman working as a social worker. She faced a lot of challenges over there and a lot of struggle, but she lead with the compassion and inspire the next generation women how can bring positive impact the women and childrens. That inspire me to bring write the case. The like. She worked for the women and children and gender equality, and she lead the one of the biggest in national NGOs here, and under her leaderships, and she not only that she's leaded the society, and also that she brings the empower the women's and also the society, and bring the positions, create the opportunity for others, bring the like entrepreneurship as the brings the medium entrepreneurship and also the development is bring the togethers. That's the inspire me the how she also working with the like bring the entrepreneurship in her work. The not only the like development work, the like social work. At a time, she also inspired the women's the bring the like economic empowerment. If you have the economic empowerment, like if you can have your voice, you can raise your voice, and you can have your voice value in your family, in your society, and in your country. That's perspectives she bring in her work. And that's the this, and she got the recognitions, she got the awardee in the Roman Magsaysay awardee, and
Yes.
also she got the best social worker achievement in government of Bangladesh, and also many more. And that's and she faced a lot of challenges, but she gone through this, and she overcome all this obstacle, and she inspired the others women's and community peoples, and a lot of peoples now is working in her organizations. And also she motivated, and she coaching others women the how can bring the motivate the being the leaders in the societies, and how the positive impressions for the women and children with the compassions, and with the and women have the like lot of opportunity, openness, and the trustworthy and accountability, the how the other men cannot do have that, but we yeah, so that's the strength of the women's. They also bring the strength of the women's, that got the opportunity of the leaderships, the bringness of the like women empowerment, and women strength being a positive children's opportunity for the leaderships. You can have the like your openness, your compassion, your empathy, your emotional balance, that also give the your opportunity to give the people's lead the among each by others, you can motivate two people's through the inspiring these qualities like values, the how the we call the leadership values, and also the social values over there. Also the you have studied the how the co-creations and the co-generations, the leaderships, the how we can co-create each others, like sometimes people like women's we need to help one woman to another ones, not to like backhold like in a backbench holding the hand. You can go in a way forward in future. But she is really in inspiring leaders in context of Bangladesh. I already mentions that is very conservative Muslim society, and
Uh,
she faced a lot of challenges over there, but still she is in her quality and the values and her like long lasting inspire and motivations. She got her result and bring the impact in the society. Now she recognized by the community, government, and society, and also the globally. That's the issues, like how get the like your work, you can bring your people in your hand. Like people are not earlier is they are not supporting, but now they are supporting by their work, the people.
okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Aleha. You have
Yeah,
chosen well as well, right?
thank you.
Okay, we have the fourth one, and this is Darina, who's coming in from Dubai. Darina, she had chosen Commissioner Henaris as well. Darina, go ahead.
Yes, correct. Thank you very much for having me. And as it has been mentioned, the AIM had established a Women Leadership Lab, and we discussed and decided on 3 different kinds of fields that we would look into for our women leaders. It was community, business, and government. And for me, myself, I wanted to showcase a female leadership in government, because in many countries and many parts of the world, the top government positions are still held by men and not so many by women. So that's why I wanted to present a case of a women leader in the government in the Philippines. My little challenge at the time was I had been new to the country, so I wasn't very familiar with the political scene or the history of the country or the tax system in the Philippines. But it so happened that I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he suggested I look into and try talking to then Commissioner Henaris. And I'm very happy that that friend made a suggestion, and I was able to work with her and write this paper about her. As working with Commissioner Henaris, I learned a lot of insights, background, and without giving too much away about the paper, it made sense to me why she was chosen for the position and why she chose the strategies and approach to the system and the organizational internal and external system. And I hope that the case will be as insightful to readers and the audience as it was to me while I was working with Commissioner Henaris and writing the case. And I hope this will be inspirational not only to women in government, but also outside of the government sector. And the reason why I wanted to choose a woman leader in government was because just given their position and leadership with authority, they can, if used correctly, they can create a great impact for the whole community, the country, and the society. And in terms of the narrative and why it was compelling, why Commissioner Henaris' case was compelling to me, her background, beliefs, as I was working with her, interviewing her, her background and beliefs and values and how she used them in her approach to the Bureau of Internal Revenue was very interesting, and it actually reflected her values and her upbringing and her beliefs. So, you know, as readers will go through the paper, they will find a lot of connections to her background and why she chose the strategies that she chose, how she orchestrated the internal and external change, how she approached stakeholders, how she approached the complexity of the entire system and the Bureau itself. And I'm really hoping that the story will become inspiration to others in the civil service and outside.
Thanks, Dorina, and thanks to the other case writers, that's Saleha, Fio, Rosh, or Hasminah, and who else? Yes. And at this point that you just summarized some very specific points why the case writers went into this. One is there's an alignment. There was a resonating between the case writer and their choice and the ones they have chosen. Second is what's coming out is really that many of them, like Rosh, Fio, Saleha, were really responding to certain divides or inequities in the society. And up to today, the women, and they would always have the women in place. And the message is, yes, the women can do something as well. And like Fojo was saying, even without authority, or even with authority like Commissioner Kim and Dorina, is that leadership by itself is a difficult task. And so we have another C. Earlier, I talked about courage. Second is what? Compassion. As some of you have raised, you saw compassion in the women leaders that you had chosen. Of course, as a basis was competence. We don't discuss competence at all. But for women, competence might be an issue as you face the challenges themselves. The other point, and that is why the new MDM program has been changed, is we're now focusing, as these women leaders are going to tell us, on impact. What is the impact of the intervention? What is the impact of leadership? And why is it so easy also to fail? And that is why also we might want to listen to them later on when they speak to us about, so how do you avoid failure? Or is failure something that we need to embrace a little more courageously? So let me now, you've just been introduced to our case writers. We call them case writers. Yeah, but they're also people on their own had chosen to lead themselves. And that's why we listen to their own inequities that they have seen, their own cry for values, their own cry for voice. So let me now go back to Rosh. Rosh, let's go into the women leaders themselves, the ones who were chosen.
Thank you, Professor, for that wonderful discussion. We've heard the inside story of the motivations of the case authors in writing their respective cases and the compelling narrative of their women leaders. Now, it is the right time to see the faces to the cases. But before going that, hello to all our friends who are watching now. We are being watched in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, all over the world now. Okay, it is a privilege to be graced by these inspiring women leaders in governance, development, and business sectors. Allow me to introduce to you our women leaders. First, attorney Kim Henaris, who is popularly known in the Philippines as the fierce and competent commissioner who led the Bureau of Internal Revenue during the period when the Philippines obtained various international credit upgrade, lifting the Philippines from junk credit rating to investment grade. During her term, she implemented various tax administration reforms, represented the Philippines in global discussions and in negotiating tax treaties. And also, she spearheaded the passage of various tax legislations, such as the Sin Tax Law and the Incentives Transparency Act. She is currently an international consultant in the areas of tax, legal, and management, and presently the senior advisor of Albright Stonebridge Group and co-founder and director of RegTech Incorporated, a sustainable digital identity systems. Our second guest speaker is Dr. Angela Gomez. Dr. Gomez is a social worker, author of several books on social issues, and the founding executive director of Bangladesh Shekha Learn How to Survive. Apologies if I did not get that right. This is a leading NGO working for more than 4 decades to improve the socio-economic welfare of women and the children in Bangladesh. She was awarded the Best Social Worker by the Bangladesh National Council for Social Welfare in 1988 and also received the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award in Community Leadership category in recognition of her contribution in helping rural Bangladeshi women assert their rights to better livelihood and gender equality. Our third women leader is Miss May Savefiu. Miss Few is the director of the Gender Equality Network, a coalition of more than 100 organizations collaborating to advocate for women's rights to end discrimination against women and ethnic and religious minorities in Myanmar. She also co-founded Catching Peace Network and Catching Women Peace Network to raise awareness of the human cause of conflict and to advocate for peace and reconciliation. She chairs the Alliance for Gender Inclusion for Peace process and was honored with an International Women of Courage Award by no less than the State Secretary of the United States in 2015 and Global Trailblazer Award in 2017 by Georgetown University's Institute for Women, Peace, and Security. Ms. Pyo was listed as one of the inspiring women leaders in changing Myanmar society by many local and international media. And of course, to complete our roster of women leaders today, my women leader, we have Ms. Yasmin Busran Lau. She's a fellow Maranao and a development worker who is also the former secretary of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos and an ex officio member in the government peace negotiating panel for talks with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. She is also active in the development of the full potential of women in various capacities as educator, researcher, and development practitioner for more than 2.5 decades and co-founded the Al Mujadila and Nisa will hack fee Bangsamoro, both nonprofit organizations. Her capacity to engage policymakers, humanitarian agencies, and the civil society organizations on both local and global level are demonstrated through her productive collaborations with Change Politics Movement, Human Development Network, Consortium on Bangsamoro Civil Society, among others. She is now serving as member of the board of Insight Gov. Let us all give them a big, big virtual round of applause. Professor Confesor, you have the floor now.
Yes, thank you very much. This is for the next session, and I'd like all of you to listen to our panelists. We will go through all four of them. And the question we would like to ask really is, what is it? What pathways are you seeing regarding the work that must be done? And of course, by women. And of course, 2015, we had written about you. And we will use your cases. Actually, we use your cases in the classroom as well. And what is going to happen is, given the new pandemic and all, what is it that welcomes everyone, including our women today, as they wish to reimagine a future? What do you think are some of the focal points for intervention as well? So let's go, and I'm going to follow the listings, and this would be Attorney Kim. Attorney Kim Henaris, former BIR commissioner, and now there is life after BIR. Huh, Kim? Yes. And right now we're seriously thinking about, we wonder, given all the changes you had made in the Philippine government, and really quite a model for many of our women who think that we can change governance and government, is what is the track or the pathways ahead? Kim, you're on.
Yeah, I think basically when we were in government, we tried to contribute toward uh, rebuilding or building over and above what has already been built, and correcting, like in a house, we retained the good part, we renovated some part and built on the strong part, right? So I think that's the mindset that the world is missing. It seems like the world, when you come into a position, your first reaction is to destroy everything that everyone else before you built, which is really very foolhardy because you don't have the time and you're always busy. And I always say that one of the hallmark of a good leader is being humble. Being humble to recognize that your predecessor are pretty intelligent, and they encounter problems which everyone know. I think the problem of government of the world is known to everyone. So it's nothing new. So when they were faced with it, they have certain tools in front of them and they use what is available. So when you come in, I think you should evaluate and try to build on it if it's buildable. Because at that time, like I said before, IT was expensive, but now IT solution is so cheap. So there are a lot of things, processes that they had thought about, but probably could not do it because the IT was not available. Now in your time, it's now available, so you can use it and to make it more convenient for everyone. So I think the pathway to the future is really recognizing that to grow, you don't have to destroy. To grow, you can evaluate and build on what has been planted before. Like I said, in a house, or maybe like in a garden, right? You maintain the garden, you remove the weeds, you expand on the garden because there are more variety that are growable, no? Or that's more in need. So I think this is basically what's been missing in governance, whether it's in corporate or in public governance. No? And for me, the other very basic for women
Yeah.
I always believe woman has always been the leader, but not because why do I say they've always been the leader? In the house, the father might think that he made the decision, but at the end of the day, the wife or the mother has laid the groundwork to make the husband decide the way they do, without them realizing that they were deciding based on how the wife is leading them toward that decision. So it's I think there should be a continuation of that. We can be a leader without having to be, I always say the important thing is to be able to make it work. We don't really have to have the credit. Because at the end of the day, we know that it's because of us and nobody, and it doesn't matter whether somebody recognized it. But what's important is what we wanted to do and it happened, right?
Yes,
So
Attorney,
that's
yes, Attorney, yeah. I'm sorry, Attorney Kim. Therefore, in the choice of what you're doing right now, what do you think is the one that really grabs you, that you feel would, in a sense, mobilize others to also work with you? In what area are you looking at?
Yeah, actually, when I was in BIR, I wanted people to do an electronic bookkeeping format, no? Which is to help the small, medium enterprise and and the professionals, no? Because people keep on coming to me and complaining about difficulty of compliance and expense of compliance. No? And I've always asked the professional organization, Philippine Medical Association, why don't you do this as your advocacy and your project to help your member? But up to the time and up to now, I've already left the agency. Nobody still is doing that. So that's why I formed RegTech with some Estonian partner to work on that, no? And also we're also proposing other project for so that people can really have an end-to-end digital experience. So like we're suggesting electronic notarization, we're suggesting a lot of things, no? So that's what the continuation of an advocacy I have.
That's
so
right.
yeah, life is a continuation. It does not abruptly change. Even if you leave government, I think you go to government because you want to do public service. You want to serve your other people. No, when you leave government, you still continue with it. I think you don't have to be in government to be able to help people. You can do it as a private individual.
All right, that is great, because Attorney Kim, one of the things we're looking at is access. That many communities actually have been marginalized also by digitalization. So the work that you're doing actually brings together many of those in the margins, as well as you mentioned, medium scale enterprises, small enterprises. Thank you. Let's move to Dr. Angela Gomez. Dr. Angela? Yes.
Good afternoon, Bangladesh time. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes.
And Saleha, who gave my name and long time he speak about me, and also moderator. Thank you very much about me. You told me. Then I'm happy to share my little my work. I'm doing a lot of work, but he had no time to speak here. And I'm working for 45 years already. 45 years over now, and so those who are oppressed, depressed, dominated, and by the husband, torture, injustice, and we work for them. Then how they can overcome it, and we train them several ways, and we several technology and several strategy we use. Then how they can be a peaceful life in this society. They can yeah. and also this how they can self-dependent and how they can earn and how they can send the school their children that we're working. And also we work handicrafts work. We export no it and handicraft products. And handicraft products we got an award 4 times, then 3 times gold medal nationally, and one is a silver medal, and 4 times we got an award, you know, and nationally. And we are also we arrange several kinds of training in income generative training, culture. Now you can I have no here only, you know, I mean the culture in the fish with the moment, and then there is the a lot of culture. We throw pick up, then we go to the remote area. We give to the that they have the small pond. Then and also they took lease also. Then we train them. Then after we provide from here and the fingerlings, no. Then and free of cost. Then because they are very poor that way. So then you know several way we train them, then how they can survive themselves and acceptable from this society. They don't like it, no, to them, and they dominated always. And they are dominated by the society, I told before. And that's why we work for them. Income generative program and legal aid program, legal support, and court case and mediation, through mediation in the village, with small group and men and women together. We train them. Then after how they can solve the problem. If they cannot, then they come to Basteshaka Joshua. Then and they inform us. Then after we try here through mediation. If we fail, then it goes to the court. Then government help us the legal way. They can successful our women, and also both the side will be a win-win. No dominated men, no dominated women, but win-win like the same way. So we have them several kinds of technology training. We are also training against domestic violence, well, social harassment and sexual harassment.
I can't hear. It's muted. Yes, go. All right.
We got many challenges not to work in, because this is the men are doing against women. It was very difficult to work with them. Now the men, but when the government is now support women, means justice, no, not injustice. That they support. They create many law, and then we use that law. In that time, men in the society, they are afraid. They afraid. Then after they accept it, and then that you don't listen, and don't stop it, then we'll file the case to the court. Or through the mediation, you can solve problem. You cannot, then we'll go to the court. So that way, then many time, many cases court, but they withdraw also. We withdraw also because they told we never do like this. So it was very difficult, very risky. But I have no anybody anybody in this area, in Joshua district, my district, home district is Gazipur, long distance from here. I'm alone, and I'm a Christian woman, and also, unmarried. But I am living with a Muslim house, Muslim family, and we call like relatives, uncle. So they love me. Before they several where they doubt me, but now they like me and support me very much. And also they sent my name to get the award, many award from the our Sheikh Hasina, then Prime Minister, and we got also many award several times, and other also Prime Minister also we got, and also international international KIT quality university. I got also award and also doctorate degree from there. So and many award I got, and many challenge also I have to face. I have to face because in insufficient of money, donor crisis, and 19 COVID 19 and our handicaps work we cannot send there because buyers. And the buyer is the shortage in the time, and we also in that time we collect some money, we beg for the rich people relief, like this. Then after we distribute for the poor people, then how they can survive themselves in the time. So it was very difficult, but we did it. Any kinds of problem happen, and sexual harassment or others, we take action through demonstration or direct action, and government we talk them and give written to them, and demonstration day, and I'm is many and they filed the case against me and many allegations about me, but everything I won because I never do anything wrong, in my knowledge, and I try to help the people properly, properly, my dedication, and I never became tired, I'm happy to help all kinds of people if they are proper way there. But the opponent party, after they came to me, then Angela, please forgive us. We made mistake. You are right, but nobody attacked me here. But because others people is helping, Muslim, Hindus, everybody. But those who are where I'm working, there's all Muslim and Hindu, no Christian. This area have only little Christian mission here, all one para little, but all Muslim and Hindu. But they like me and love me very much now, no. So and only for my work, no. So I'm very grateful to the other my other dharma, religion or other religion people. They didn't hate me now. They support me. So I'm very grateful. And my the next generation, when I'll not be alive, then who will do like this? And many people, they are doing now they're doing, they follow me and like me, and they also help each other in the village, and here also they came, they determine themselves, then how they can protect the good things. And when the mediation will be here, many Muslim people came to Bastishaka also, and the proper way in those came against me, but after discussion they told, oh Angela, you're right, we made mistake.
Thank you.
You're doing
Right.
thank you. So that way the for next generation should be it follow, already they follow it, they like it, everybody love me, like me, and I didn't go I might have no father, no mother, and my brother, they did only one brother I have, but my younger brother. But everybody is my relative. Very big family. The Bangladesh family is they all are my relatives now. That is my credit. That is my successful. I am proud about this. I am grateful to the Salehapa, no, and moderator. And thank you very much for you giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much. After good afternoon and good luck for everybody. And you pray for me, then I can do. I can continue my work. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Good luck.
Thank you so much. We
Saleha,
still
good
have
luck.
a discussion afterwards, Dr. Angela. So hold on. But we have come from another platform that the women have exercised their leadership. And we also, from the presentation of Dr. Angela, have also taken note and sensed the conflicts in her society. And while she may have described her work as if it was so easy, you cannot imagine how difficult that work would be in a place in a place called Bangladesh. And she would talk about the Muslim and the Hindus. So the conflicts are there, the inequities exist as well. And you will have her bridging a lot of these inequities. As a matter of fact, her womanhood becomes part of it. She even says she's single and she has married her own family, is now everybody in her midst. So with two women leaders, two platforms of engagement, very, very different and yet similar, because they will face what? Inequities that belong to a society and cannot be allowed to persist. They will also face the women, the notion of the women having voice and the notion of having economic power, and more than that, the power of what we call humanity. So the next speaker we have, and she will also represent another platform of engagement, is from Myanmar. So Director May Sabefew of the Gender Equality Network. Director May? Director May?
Yes. So you would like me to go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We have you in the list. We'll close with Secretary Yasmin.
Okay, so the questions that I understood is, like, what are the pathways that we are building in shifting the collective mind of our community to a better future, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So for me, I'm trying to invest more on generation leaders, sharing adaptive leadership, the concept of adaptive leadership, which I really believe that the bright future of Myanmar is in their hand. Only when the younger generations understand and practice the good side of leadership and authority of influence for the society, the equality which we would like to see will come true. The society respect human rights and democratic principles to end all kind of discrimination and violence, and bringing sustainable peace and development for the country. When we talk about gender equality, people simply think that we are talking about equality between women and men only. Actually, the equality that we are referring to is equality for all mankind. Equality for all different groups of people, that's regardless of their sexual orientation, religion, ethnics, groups they belong to. So to me, I believe in people's power, movement building, nonviolence resistance, and collective advocacy. That is why I'm working hard to coordinate different networks and alliances in Myanmar in order to influence civil society and women voices into public policies peace processes and nation building. Things will not change by overnight or by individual. But when we are together, focusing on the changes we all want to see, putting our collective efforts, and then changes will come gradually. Yeah, so I will stop here. Thank you very much.
All right, May. Actually, May also comes from Myanmar, where the divides are also very difficult. Yeah. And we talk about a Kachin Peace Network, and it is also conflict. And you will now move to another one, and this is Secretary Yasmin Busrao Rao, whose context where leadership is exercised is also like Myanmar or like Bangladesh, where the inequities are also generated by rifts or differences along culture, along ethnic groups, etc. So may I now call on Secretary Yasmin.
Thank you very much, Nieves. Nice to reconnect with you after so many, now more than a decade of having the last time we saw each other. And also would like to thank Hasminah. I would like to tell her that the admiration is mutual, that it's not easy to find a soul sister, but I really do found it with her. That's why I really worked with her and enjoyed it so much. Yeah, their question on where am I now after 5 years since the case was written. Well, I'm back in my home. In my home means where my heart lies, in the advocacies that I've been doing before crossing over to government, which is, of course, women's empowerment in the context of Islam, which is still a very important and a continuing process. Working with my organization way back, which I'm still a part of, the Al-Mujadila Development Foundation, and now working with young girls, adolescent girls and boys, because it's very important to understand gender justice and be empowered, especially in the context of faith and culture, because the challenge still continues until now. For us not to make the faith and culture as a barrier for our full development, particularly as young women. Also, I'm still concerned with the peace building, particularly women, peace and security. And we know how fragile peace is. It needs tender loving care 24/7. And we also know how inconsistent national government policy is in terms of the peace situation in Bangsamoro, so that we need to be more vigilant and soldier on in pushing for the gains of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, which was signed in 2014. On this, although we know that the peace agreement, the CAB, which was signed in 2014, is being claimed as one of the best peace agreements in the world with regards to its, of course, its architecture, peace architecture, its substance, and the fact that it's the first agreement signed by a woman peace negotiator in the world. But what we really have to be very vigilant and still concerned about is that even before the agreement was made into a law, the Bangsamoro Organic Law, before it was even made into a law and ratified through a plebiscite, the Marawi siege happened in 2017, which I'm a part of, Nieves, no? And my family, my clan, we are all from the most affected area, and our homes, our properties, and all were lost and bombarded. And 3 years after, we're still internally displaced people. We have yet to enter the area, and the rehabilitation and reconstruction of Marawi is still very problematic until now. And so that's why much of my energy is also focused on working with the Balik Marawi group and all those affected families and communities working and really pushing government to really fast track and really look into the situation in Marawi, and of course with Congress also to pass the compensation bill, and also at least to do an legislative inquiry on why the siege happened. So it poses a challenge to the peace agreement, while the Bangsamoro government is now on its own full swing in its transition period for the election in 2022. Oh yeah, they're now full swing. Then the Marawi is issue is a very big peace and security issue, and of course my love also for good governance. That's why with Insight Gov, I'm still part with a national networks conversation on how you connect the dot between your politics, your good governance, and your development outcomes. Because as we know, these are the cornerstone of our democratic values and principles. This pandemic has surfaced the cracks and challenges in our politics and governments, both at the national and the local government levels. We've seen how few national leaders and local government leaders have shown excellent response to the pandemic. But sad to say, majority really have failed our people. And we've seen that the marginalized sector, the vulnerable sectors, particularly have suffered more now than they were before the pandemic. And it's very important for us to use, the analysis and understand what's happening with our democratic values and principles, our governance in this country, and be very clear who should be made accountable for all of this. We have to be very vigilant about really demanding accountability, exacting accountability to our people. So these are the three main issues or advocacies and work that I'm currently involved with grassroots organization and with national networks, particularly Women's Network, Nieves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary Yasmin. Yasmin has been in the middle of the peace negotiations, like in Myanmar, before you even reach this, the peace negotiations with different groups are still ongoing and still trying in its best way to govern a democratic space. So here we have 4 women, who were terribly audacious and thought they could do it. And they would practice their leadership. And many thought it was just managing. But beyond that, as we said, what is it about, or what challenges have been brought to them? So we have Dr. Angela Gomez of Bangladesh, starting out with the poor, crossing the boundaries of Muslim, Hindu, and Christian, bringing mediation or conflict as well, in the same way Secretary Yasmin would face her conflict, or Director May in Myanmar would help the gender or the women cross ethnic boundaries, especially that beset this government, or for Attorney Kim to try to empower by using or accessing or providing access to women and also to the small and the marginalized as they access to services of government, and also becoming very good entrepreneurs. I mean, what do we have? We have 4 platforms. I'm sure there are many other platforms that have been chosen. So leadership is what? It is not only courage. It is not only competence. It's a lot of what? It's a recognition of the inequities that bind the ecosystem in which we must operate. And as a matter of fact, one area I thought you might wish to talk about later is what? The role of the women, and how difficult or how inspiring it could be. And what can we do to push some more? the idea of the impact of having more women leaders in our midst in different platforms as well. So let me wind that up for this section and call in Attorney Rosh. Hasminah?
Thank you for that very, very wonderful discussion, Professor, and to our women leaders. What I actually gathered from this conversation is that it is not really about your gender. Leadership is beyond one personal skill and competencies. A leader should be visionary and dares to dream big, because leadership is bringing into fruition your vision, or translating your vision into reality. I recall our class, professor, in Bridging Leadership and Leading with Impact, wherein we were taught to have big, hairy, ambitious, or audacious goals, or what we call BAG. And also, I was reminded by a quote that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, and then you are a leader. And this was indubitably shown by our guest women leaders. But before we go to the next part of our conversation, let us have a quick poll. Please choose your answer to the question that will be flashed in your screen. This is just a quick poll. Now the question will be, what do you believe are the unique requirements for 21st century leaders, both for men and women? First is ability to lead more quickly, ability to lead through influence, ability to lead with a combination of humans and machines, ability to lead through more complexity and ambiguity, and ability to lead on a remote basis. Can we show the results now? We have the results of Paul?
Yeah, it's already in the screen.
It's coming.
Yeah. So interestingly, a previous data from the Deloitte Global Human Capital Trends Survey in 2019 shows that the ability to lead through more complexity and ambiguity is the top unique requirement for 21st century leaders, garnering 81%, and followed by the ability to lead through influence, which gained 65% from those who responded to the survey. So what did we get from this session? Yes, it is the same. Ability to lead through more complexity and ambiguity garnered 82%, and it's quite far from other choices.
All right.
So now, let's continue the conversation as we open the floor to further questions from our audience. I invite all the panelists, both case authors and our women leaders, to please turn on your video cameras, and I turn it over to you, Professor.
All right. So let me now call on the panelists. There is, you need to bring up your hand so we know who to call. Is there anyone there? Please.
Yes, Professor. Where are our women leaders and case authors, please?
Yeah. You may also put your questions on the chat area. There is a question from the Facebook stream. It's from Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan, there are different issues on the way of women. So considering the above mentioned issues, which one of the following is the priority to help women to grant them acceptance and their presence in the community faster and more fundamentally? So perhaps it's a question that you may respond to given your own experiences in your own countries, or to the case writers. Let's do it very fast. Yeah? Let's start off with whom? Anyone? Yasmin? Yes, second.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Well, that's a very interesting question, and also a very, very important question, because when you empower women, the first question of how do you bring them out and be accepted in the larger society? When we were starting in Al Mujadila, that was the issue, because we organized women or community organizers or facilitators. And the problem is when they go to a community, when they don't have relatives, they don't know anybody, it will be very difficult for them to go there and be readily accepted. So I think it's important that you identify a woman leader in that community, work with that woman leader, support that woman leader. What we did actually was that when the community facilitators had to go house to house, when they enter the home, it's the male who will open the door. But when they see that it's a woman, then they're forced to call their wives or their sisters or the woman who are actually at the back or inside to come out. So in other words, pushing the women in front. And since because it's the idea is the woman interviewing with like it's a woman, so the woman who is actually inside the house is forced to go out and able to be interviewed, and through that process you empower the woman to be able to speak, to be able to express herself, because it's the first time that somebody is asking, recognizing and asking her opinion, asking her, you know, what is happening, what is she doing, how is she, and all that. Now, if you continue doing that, and then provide a support system in the community, then gradually the women are pushed into the front, no longer at the back. And then they're able to know each other in the neighborhood and gain more confidence to talk during meetings. So it becomes a natural flow from back naturally being pushed, because there's an external stimulus that's able to, you know, catalyze that that process of bringing them from the back to the front, and then continue the process, you know, showing the community their thoughts, their capacity, and in the end, you'll be surprised, they end up being the president or the leader of that community's organization. So before they were at the back, not, you know, not being heard of, invisible. Now they are the leader of the community, recognized even by the religious leader, you know, and other and the local the barangay captain and all that. So it's really being strategic, trying to understand the lay of your community and strategize on how do you push women from the backward, from the back, being in the front line. Thank you, Nieves.
All right, Yasmin. The other one that I thought you could remember too was Dr. Angela Gomez. In her story, in her narrative, very humble woman, would also say that the government also put in the rules and the laws that would allow it. So the changing of the structure is also important, so that the brave souls or the brave women that Yasmin is pointing to can actually have an infrastructure for accessing, being made available, these opportunities that they can have. I have another notice from the FB, from Charlotte Lozada. I really like and support the idea by Sec Yasmin on gender justice in the context of faith and culture, of not making these two as barriers for gender inequality. Perhaps I would like first, and I will return to you, Sec Yasmin, is to bring it to the Myanmar area, and if ever, what work has been done in the area of gender justice as well. That's for Director May. Have there been legal infrastructures, we call them institutionalizing the initiative? Huh?
Yeah. So for the gender, so we are trying to push governments to implement, you know, the national level strategy on the advancement of women, as well as, you know, we'll be helping or supporting governments to have new laws to prevent and protect violence against women. So I mean, though gender justice is very important, but in Myanmar context, you know, we still have many barriers and challenges because of lack of political will and commitment. from the government, not only from the government, actually, from all the stakeholders,
Community, yeah.
the community as well, because there is a belief that Myanmar women are born equal.
That's right.
Since, we don't have any to for women to run politics. People simply think that there is no gender inequality exists in the society, which is not true. So what we always said, the problems here in Myanmar is people are not seeing problems as problem. That is why it's difficult to solve. The problems will be going to solve only when people see this as a problem. So yeah, so we are still a long way to go, but things are moving, and though there is not much visible change so far, but things are moving slowly. And as I said, changing behavior is difficult, but changing people's mindset, attitudes, mindset, and perspective, it's more difficult. And we have to make them seeing inequality as a problem, and root cause for the arms conflict and civil war in country as well.
That's right. Myanmar is out of it, the civil war, the civil strife, but the ethnic groups still exist. So the Peace Network of Director May is still alive. Yes. Attorney Kim, in your platform where we're going, what do you think is the biggest challenge now for women? And what needs to be done?
I guess the biggest challenge for women is knowing where you want to go.
That's right.
Because I don't think the ladies really know where they want to go. In my experience working with a lot of my staff, lady staff, and in even the corporate setting, it seems like the ladies just want to leave the house and work, be able to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like to me it's just an excuse for them not to be in the house. Because why do I say that? Because if you look at the way things are going, I'm not saying, I think we should erase this mentality that being a housewife and being a mother is not as good a career or vocation as working in the workplace. I think being a good mother and a good wife is the very foundation of values in a country. If you look at what's happening in the world, basically people are lost because we basically lost our values. And I'm saying that sometimes these are created by being too materialistic. So the drive for women is, to them, they think that it's beneath them, and it does not create much value of being a good mother and being able to take care of their children. But to me, that's wrong, because I think that's the very essence of why society and civilization is the way it is now. Because there's no more value system, and these are really created by the mother of the family. It's not really the father who create that value system but because maybe this pandemic is a way of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
In terms of prioritization, right? So now you are more inward thinking about bonding with your family, really knowing your children, imparting values to them. because gender equality also starts there. No? If you have the right values to your children and respect for people, then automatically you respect people for who they are, not because they're male or they're female, right? So, so to me, that's those are things that's why I'm saying that a woman seems to not know what it is that they really want to be. Wanting to work is very superficial. What is it what impact is it that you want to create? What is it that you want people to say when you are no longer in this world?
Yeah.
What have you, if your children should you leave, what can your children say that, you know what, I'm like this because it's my mom who taught me how to be like this. No, I mean, I think those are the most important thing, going back to the basic and really knowing what's the important thing in life.
That's right. So we come to a point where we also talk about leadership. Not that many will say yes to it. It's a very scary thing to do. But what Attorney Kim has also pointed out is that maybe this is the time where the simple unit is a single unit of work is really the family. And that's why women must be in the family as well. So that brings us also, and to many of the 4 stories that we have, including Dr. Angela Gomez, who says she's single. She's actually defined her family. And it's a family where it is not the biological family, but the family of a nation. And so many of the women, actually, or Yasmin, or May, or even our own case writers who are a little bit younger, only a little bit, all right, than their women leaders that they have chosen, have actually chosen their own lives. And when we call that, many of the millennials now are so different. They talk about purpose. And that's why I was saying, Attorney Kim, oh, these young ones would love to hear you, is because what we're finding out as well about this generation is they're asking again about purpose. And for women, we might find out we'll have to face it double time, not only the men. And so when we look at it, when you look at what is really the voice, the values, etc., it's really for men and women. But the decision, as we said, leadership is very personal. It is a choice to be made. Don't believe us at AIM. Management, you can always learn it. You can also go to the best schools. That one you can do. But leadership is a very personal decision to make. And that is why, in a sense, when that decision has to be made, you would wish, as Attorney Kim was pointing out, that the family had prepared the woman for that decision. Many of us will not cross the street because it's better just to manage. But a few of you, called the leaders, even men exercise leadership as well, will always cross the street and embrace the conflict. They will embrace the chaos with so much fearlessness. So in that sense, yeah, it was quite um, very educational for us. And I just, for the women leaders, just to let you know, is that when we started the development management school, which really differentiates us from any other business school, was because development will have to be a leadership program. It cannot be just a management program. So we can teach the tools anytime. But leadership, as your stories will show, you had crossed the street, and they are dangerous streets. And in the meantime, even technology has widened and deepened the gaps instead of narrowing the gaps. So we're still at work trying to narrow those gaps and use technology as a tool rather than as a barrier. So it's heavy to talk about gender justice. But gender justice, while it must be institutionalized in our laws, yeah, it must be, as Dr. Angela Gomez, if you had listened to her, it must come from a lot of the heart. And that is why leadership today is about compassion as well. Not just competence, not just courage, but the women leadership cases that we have today talks a lot about the notion of compassion and what really moves us into acting as well. So how do you now, many of the questions I'm now getting is really questions about, so how do you overcome the conservative thinkers? So let me just do a 1-2 sentence answer from any of you, because I'm sure your context is going to define it. And how to approach this empowerment of the conservatives, you know? Anyone? I mean, think about your lives and you say, oh, what was that one instance when I had to go against something and it worked against these conservative people, the ones I had to have their minds change. It could be your husband, it could be your neighbor, it could be the Senate, it could be your president and prime minister. So just one instance, one narrative. Think about the last years when you had to take on the more conservative elements.
I can go first, just briefly, Prof.
Go.
For me, I think in order for you to fight these conservatives, you are actually not going to fight them. You have to earn your voice. You have to have that legitimacy. And what I did as a young woman, or I tried to get that legitimacy. I tried to educate myself in different areas, not only the law, not only the development, but also in politics and governance. And currently now I'm also doing advocacy work. So I think earn that legitimacy so that people will actually listen. And when people will listen, then you will turn the table in your favor. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Anyone?
Yeah, go ahead. May I share my narrative?
Go. Go, May.
Yeah, so like as I belongs to the Kachin ethnic groups,
Yes.
it is very patriarchal, very similar to Chinese culture, you know, like only men could pass the family's name, you know, to their children. Only men are allowed to get inheritance from the parents, you know, etc. You know, like men's are the core for the society, and you know, women's are not regarded as important. So when we advocated gender equality, the concept of gender equality in the Kachin society, especially the conservatives, you know, like a male leader. I mean, like the Kachins are fighting for their own self-determination.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to use the example that they could easily understand, you know. So I told them that, you know, like, yeah, Myanmar has the populations about 56 million.
Yeah.
And you know, women are more than 50% of the total population. You know, like we are about 51%, 52% of the total population. But the Kachins, you know, our ethnic group is actually very small population compared to the country's population. You know, we are just like 1 million, about 1 million. So I told them that, you know, like if you are only focusing on men leadership and putting only men in the decision-making bodies, and you, if you exclude women to participate in the public life and the decision-making position, you know, you just look at among our Kachin society, you know, we are very small population, no, compared to the larger population in Myanmar. But even about 1 million, of course, you know, we have, I mean, larger percentage of women populations in Kachin as well, you know, because of the civil war, you know, because most of the men, they are fighting with arms and they are dying in the war. And another another challenge is, like most of our Kachin men, they are addicted to drugs. A lot of them also dying, by drugs addiction. So, I mean, like in general population, women hold are more than half of the population, but Kachin men, they are, even fewer because of they are dying in the war. They are also, dying with the drugs. So if you are only putting, like men's at the front of liberation, at the front of our ethnic groups development, how could you rely only on men? Because we don't have enough men to build our own liberation.
Liberation, right?
So, like, I'm just trying to use the way they think of only men can build the country. Only men can build the society, to change that, is there enough men you have? You don't have, I mean, like, if you are not using and empowering your woman, you will not have a good family. Now, only when women are educated, they will they will take care of your children, the future generations, for the liberation, that you are seeking for. No? So I'm just trying to use that, why they are conservatives, thinking of, like, okay, women are not important, everything is about men. And, only men could make decisions into, why we have to think about gender equality, as well as why we need to empower our women so that, they will bring betterment of our society. They will bring, development and peace, not only in our family, but also in the society, that in the broader sense. So that's my narratives.
Yes. May comes from Myanmar, and Myanmar is undergoing its own context. We call it the context in which this must be exercised. And many times we will have to understand the certain decisions being made by our women leaders and how they do it. Like Dr. Angela in Bangladesh will approach it differently. But Secretary Yasmin, there is one question and this will be the last question in the Q&A box. And he talks about, again, gender justice. Can you name, they say, one initiative we can have to get closer to what you term as gender justice?
Well, it's
empowering the woman to open the door. Yeah.
well, actually, it's a continuing process. It's also, for me, it's a learning process. The both understanding both genders and all genders. It's a complex process. Now, it's a matter of really, as what Kim said, it starts with what do women really want and understanding what they want, and also what do really men want and understanding what they want. So for me, my analysis after having gone through all this process for several decades, of my life, I think we both understand that we are all victims of socialization, of culture and patriarchy. We have to understand that the enemies we are not each other's enemy.
That's right.
It's not about gender war or gender conflict. We have to understand what are our fears, what are our concerns, and those are our enemies, not us. If our fear is conflict, poverty, injustice, those are our real enemies. You ask men what are their fears, and they will tell you, I'm afraid for my daughter to be molested when they walk on the street. I'm afraid of my son, being bullied because he is not man enough. So these are all products of social, conditioning. And so I think it's important that gender justice for me is men and women, all genders, you know, fighting this social shackle, this conditioning that imprisons us and boxes us in specific parameters that raise several expectations. And so the injustice comes when you expect men to perform and do what we think men should be doing, even though deep down in their hearts, it's not theirs. They are not bullies. They are not, you know, they are not mad killers. They are not, you know, macho that every time somebody speaks, they have to box. No, they don't like that too. There are men who are like that. There are also women, as what Commissioner Kim said, might be satisfied with just being, you know, at home, nurturing and providing that. But between these two men are, you know, varieties of men, women, and other genders who would want to contribute so much to the society. But because we are so, you know, boxed in by our socialization and social expectations and patriarchy for that matter, it becomes a barrier for our full development. And it's so sad because we could have contributed so much for our society, but then because of this, we are constrained. So the challenge is for all of us to really, you know, push back against these cultural notions, the social notions, this, you know, socialization that we impose on our young children, to how to behave and how to be and what you should be and should not do and all this. And that is our enemy. Because unless we fight that, we can never fight together as a group, men and women, you know, poverty, injustice, oppression, and all of this, because we are busy trying to fight each other, which is just, you know, it's sad because it should not be the case. We should be working together side by side and really understand that this is gender injustice. And there has to be gender justice, which each and every one of us should be able to comfortably live by the way we look at ourselves, how we want to serve our community, how do we want to develop, and all this. And that, for me, is what gender justice is all about.
All right. Thank you very much, Secretary Yasmin. What we've just had, and there are some more in the chat area if you want to look at it. There are some questions and some comments from Golam Robanio, for example, from the FB stream, who says that, all these business schools, they only provide training in business, but not for political leadership. So in that sense, Mr. Robani is telling us that you want to talk about gender justice and all of these is to move as well, not only in the economic area, but also in the political area. And I suspect that some of you have made decisions when you start to cross into public governance, then a decision is actually being made. And yes, Mr. Robani, in our area, in our school, in development management, politics is equal to economics. There is no such thing as no politics. To go into gender issues is political already. And to go into the arena is, you can stay in the family, you can stay in the community, you can even stay in the church. Or as Dr. Angela Gomez has done, it is to move across religions. It is to move across economic order. So here, in a sense, and let me wind it up, is what do we have? 4 women leaders, 4 case writers who have themselves started to cross the street and have the courage. You've got to train yourself to be more courageous. It doesn't come overnight. And we hope that they continue with it. But one aspect remains, and that the initiative cannot be singular, or the initiative cannot be one. The initiative must be coalitions. And in today's world, in the 21st centuries, coalitions will have to be built. And that's another barrier, is to cross coalitions, is to cross sectors, which in itself, as Secretary Yasmin is saying, the boxes have been put there. And therefore, there's a need to what? To bring out the boxes. And the only way to do it is to what? Is to achieve coalitions across sectors. Not only within one gender, we cross genders as well. Let me now end this session and turn you over to Attorney Hasminah. And also, I'd like at this time to thank everybody. And in a sense, for this conversation, we wanted this to be a conversation. It is to get you more and to find a little more what understanding about how these women decided they were going to do more than what they wanted to do. And I go back again, for men and women, it is really, as Attorney Kim says, we need to know what our purpose is. We need to find what we want. And we would like to think that at this time, however, it is so difficult, especially now. My heart goes out to those graduating this year, is because looking for that purpose might be a little more difficult because the 21st century has not provided us the recipe. And it's also a recognition that some of the recipes of the 20th century is giving us the problems of the 21st century as well. So welcome to the 21st century and the pandemic as well. So thank you so much. And to all those who have been part of this conversation, I've been reading your chats and your Q&A box. It is so that thank you as well. And it's also a chance to say hello again to our alumni. We have about 26,000 all over the world, and you are being seen by many of them. And right now we're going back to the basics, as Attorney Kim was saying. It is ask ourselves, what is our mission? What is our purpose? What do we want to be? And that's going to keep changing. So thank you for the narratives as well. Rosh, you're
Thank you so much, Professor. That was so beautifully made. And thank you for this excellent discussion. As much as we wanted to accommodate more questions, our time is very limited. Indeed, time is one of the most valuable but scarce resource. We are at the final phase of our program. And to close this conversation, I invite Professor Hamil Paulo Francisco. Professor Francisco is an associate professor and associate dean of the Asian Institute of Management, who is currently the interim head of Stephen Zulik School of Development Management. Please join me in welcoming Professor Hamil Paulo Francisco.
Thank you, everyone. It is really my pleasure to do the closing remarks today. I didn't know, I was listening in the whole time, Professor Nieves, in case you didn't notice, but I didn't know if I should turn on my screen because, you know, I don't want to be the thorn, so to speak, with all of these lovely women leaders present. But in all seriousness, I was listening the whole time, and I felt truly inspired by all of the stories that all of our women leaders have shared. And in fact, what sent even more hairs on my neck to rise actually was the fact that we also have in the same room our former students, our alumni who have written the cases about these women leaders. And I could only imagine how it feels for them to have these women leaders that they have written about share their experiences now, not just to them, but to the rest of the world. In a sense, this is a legacy upon a legacy upon a legacy. But maybe we shouldn't think of the past, we think of the future, right? I guess just for hygiene purposes, I would like to thank everyone before giving the ultimate message that I want to give this afternoon. So I would like to thank, of course, Professor Nieves, not just for her role today as a moderator, but also, in developing these cases 5 years ago. Thank you very much for all the work, right? I also thank Professor Harini Chari, who had moderated the web event that we had. As you know, this is a two-part series. And the first part of the series last week was moderated by Professor Harini. I also, of course, would like to thank our alumni from MDM 2015, all of you who have put together these cases and have willingly subjected their work now for e-publication. As you all know now, we are working on the e-publication of all of your cases that we will eventually post in the ZSDM website. And this will be available for all, not just our students, but also for others to take inspiration too. And of course, most importantly, I thank our women leaders for making time for this occasion, definitely. but also for making time to having to work with our case writers. Some of you, or many of you, they had actually had to directly work with. But also, most importantly, for serving as an inspiration to all of us. It is always pride, and always something that we take pride of, rather, at the Zuilig School, when we see our alumni being leaders in their own right, and hopefully not just managers, and hopefully having crossed the street, as Professor Nieves accurately put. Many of them are already taking charge in the front lines. Many of them are working behind the scenes, enabling other people to do the work that they have to do. Many are giving voice to those who do not have a voice. Many are nurturing those that need more help. But the leadership that they have shown, and as proud as we are of our alumni, that would have not been possible if not for the road, or not the leadership that you, the women leaders who are present now, have shown. You have crossed the street ahead of these people, and they take inspiration from you. In the case room, we study cases. We study cases, examples, shining examples of people who have demonstrated not just good management of their organizations or their countries or their communities, but more importantly, have inspired other people and have led other people to do the good work. And these are not just additional cases that our students can look at and learn from, but these are living, breathing examples of what is possible in a world that was difficult pre-COVID-19, to serve as inspiration for a world that is perhaps even more difficult with COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. As Professor Nieves had rightfully said, we are now entering a new era, so to speak, or rather maybe this pandemic has made us realize that we have been entering a new era, and that whatever lessons we learned or did not learn in the, what century was that, 20th century? We now have to retool ourselves and rethink about how we approach the 21st century. This year, a few weeks ago, we had actually launched a new narrative for the Master in Development Management program. And next year, we're hoping to welcome a new batch of students who will be taking on a new MDM narrative, which is all about what we like to refer to as scaling social impact. In the last century, we hope, or we want to believe that we have somehow been able to help our graduates contribute to the effort of development. But because this century requires new solutions and we're also faced with new problems and complexities, we had to redesign the program. And among other changes, of course, would be the actual format, which is now blended learning, which we hope will allow more people to be able to join the program without them having to leave their homes or their advocacies for too long, and be able, in fact, to apply what they learn in the case room, not just from cases about you, but also with other participants and with other students, and apply that directly to their advocacies, to their communities. And a pivotal or central function or central attribute of this new program is what we call the Impact Leadership or Impact Leadership Labs, which is really action research-oriented projects which put together our students with stakeholders and communities to get things done, to prove possible what we thought was impossible. And this is where I hope not only will you serve as inspirations, but I really do look forward, as Professor Nieves had mentioned, of continued partnership among us, everyone in this room, because we don't actually know what the toolkit should be for the students who will enter this program. We have some imagined idea, and we hope it's a good imagination. We hope it's a good outline and program we've put together. But we need to work together because, as Professor Nieves had said, a single initiative is not enough, or a singular initiative, but we need coalition across various sectors, across genders, across groups. And we hope, today inspires us to continue the good work. And once again, thank you very much for having this opportunity to conclude such a fabulous and impactful session. Thank you to all.
Thank you so much, Professor Francisco. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, it's nice to
It's
see
been
you again
5 years
also.
already. On behalf of the organizers, Stephen Zuli Graduate School of Development Management of the Asian Institute of Management and MDM Batch 2015, I thank all the panelists for gracing us with your presence and making this a fruitful conversation. Also, I thank Professor Nieves Confesor for brilliantly moderating this conversation to draw out insights and meaningful stories that will inspire everyone to act with burning passion and deliberate compassion, and with an intention to empower the voiceless and create a better future for everyone. Finally, I thank all of you, our audience here at Zoom and on Facebook. I leave you with this quote to ponder upon. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Because what you will do today will have a greater impact than what will you say. Again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. This is Hasminah Paudac officially signing off. But before we finally end this conversation, I invite all the panelists to turn on your video cameras for a group photo. And thereafter, I invite also the audience who are here to also partake in this group photo opportunity. Now, please turn on your video and our IT team will capture it. So, one, are we ready from the IT team? Hello? Giselle or Paul?
Hello, attorney. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, game. 1, 2, 3, say AIM. 1, 2, 3, say lead.
AIM.
Inspire. And transform. Thank you so much. And please, to our dear audience, I implore you to answer a very short evaluation. Paul flashed in your screen. It will not take you 1 minute. It will just take you just a few seconds. Thank you again and have a wonderful afternoon, morning, or evening ahead. Bye.
Bye-bye and thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye, Hasminah. Bye, Nieves.